Welcome to Confirmation. If you've accidentally stumbled across this in search of church history, you've got the wrong link. You need to go in search of a playlist called CH604, something like that, for the Church History and Focus course. You're in the wrong place. If you're here for Confirmation, stick with it. We've only got 5 sessions that we're going to look at in small bits, and then when we meet or when we Zoom, you'll have something that we can talk about and discuss. So I'm hoping that what we explore today will raise certain issues and questions for you that we can then take a little bit further. This is part 1. So we're going to start off with confirmation. Confirmation is that moment when you confirm the promises, the vows that were made by your parents and godparents at your christening or baptism. And so here's a moment we might have a confirmation in February the 14th. Bishop William, maybe, we'll see. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead with sorting out the preparation, because it means then you're ready. And that'll be good for when we do finally get around to having a confirmation. And so we'll look at the vows and the promises that we're making as we stand up and say, yeah, this is my faith, this is who I am. And so we're going to start off with our basic understanding. And I wonder what it is that you think is the first thing that I'm going to talk about as I come to talk about what it means to be a Christian. Sam, my able assistant here, is going to pass me the different props that I need as we go through this. And then at various points, you can see if you can remember what are the props that we need for this. What's my first prop?
Mirror.
The mirror. Because you need to start with your understanding of yourself as made in the image of God. What does God look like? God looks a little bit like you. You are made in the image of God. That's the starting point of the Bible. So when you look in the mirror, you get to say, God is trying to say something profound and special like this. He's trying to say, you are special and precious to me. Commandment number 2, don't make any idols. Can also be translated, don't make any images of God. Why not? Because God's already made an image of himself, and that is you. You are made in the image of God. So don't you go and start making images of God for yourself, because you know that they're not going to be as good. You know that you are made in the image of God. And that is a wonderful place to start as we understand, well, who am I? What's the meaning and purpose of life? To discover already that I am a prince, I am a queen, a king in God's eyes, in God's kingdom. So we start with the mirror, an understanding that we are made in the image of God. Where do you think I'm going next? What do you think is the next thing that I'm going to be talking about? If I tell you that it involves this as a helpful symbol for me to remember where it is that I'm going next. And that is, where am I going next with this?
Stewardship.
Oh, he's good. He's good. So, keys are a symbol of authority and responsibility and things like that. I got bunches of keys. I got a key set for St. Leonard's, I got a key set for St. Luke's, I got a key set for St. Leonard's Hall, and they're just full of keys, hundreds of them. So keys are things that you get given when you're old enough and responsible enough to have your own house key and your own car key and things like that. Very exciting. Keys. The very beginning of the Bible, God made us in his image. Very exciting. The next thing he does is he says, I've got a job for you. You have a purpose in life. And that is to, where it's translated, go and be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. But what it's to do with is it's God giving us the responsibility to care for this world, to care for the planets, to care for the creatures and the plants, and to care for each other. God straight away gives us a job, a responsibility. You're made in the image of God. Now go take care of people. That's what we're told. Made in the image of God, and you have a job to do, which is to look after each other, look after this planet. Where do you think I'm going next? There's a but, and the but is we make mistakes. And the jargon word for this is sin. And there are different ways of looking at sin. So here are some of the ways in which we might look at sin. And I wonder what kind of, when you hear the word sin, what are the images and the metaphors and the understanding that springs to mind when you hear this word sin? So here are some of the ones that we're going to look at now. I realise, of course, it's used in hockey. You get the sin bin, which means you've done a foul, and so you get some time out. I think they do it in rugby now as well, don't they? Yeah, you have the sin bin. This is different, and it's not quite the same as when you sin in certain dietary requirements. Oh, I'm allowed 2 sins today. No, you're not. It's not how it works. But here are different ways in which we might look at sin. What are we going to look at first? Oh, we're going to do the... Okay, so one way of looking at it, Sam is holding a bucket, and I have some balls, and so we could view sin. It's an ancient idea drawn from archery, where sin is to do with missing the mark. So, not bad. There you go. So that was a sin, but 2 got in. I'm pretty impressed with that. So sin in this sense is missing the mark. It's not quite getting what I was. So close. It's not quite what I was aiming for. Now, to view sin in that way means, well, what's the solution there? The solution there is to get better at what it is that I'm trying to do. To get better at what it is that I'm trying to do, so that I hit the target more often than miss the target. So sin in that sense calls me to get better at what it is that I'm doing, rather than step away from the world, get involved in the world, in carrying those keys of responsibility. Okay, different image of sin. Fine, let's do the whiskey. And so, at this point we talk about how sin is... it's addictive. So I picked on whiskey, but you could, we could, for symbolic sake, pull out cigarettes. What else is quite addictive? I'll let you think about that. And so there's a thing about sin that is quite addictive. That we hate it, but we like it, but we hate it, but we like it. And you can get trapped in this spiral of, you get a kick out of it, and then you feel bad about it, and so you come back to it. So that's why I'm waving alcohol at you, because of its addictive properties. But there are other things that are far more addictive in their own way. So sin has this addictive element to it. Okay, what's next? The yogurt pot. Now, not any sort of yogurt pot, you understand. This was one of those yogurt pots. I think you can still get them. Known as a corner yogurt pot, where in here you'd have some yummy yogurt, and here you would have bits, chocolate bits, and the idea was that you could sort of put the chocolate bits into the yogurt, and that's the whole yummy selling point of the corner yogurt. I'm not saying corner yogurts are sinful. We're getting to the point about where this is the metaphor for how, when you tip it in, it's really difficult to get out. I mean, I guess you could sort of remove all the little chocolate balls, but even still, the chocolatey, sugary flavour will have gone in. And it's to do with how sin gets into the system, and it's just not easy to get out. Different ways in which we can look at sin. We start off with our understanding of ourselves. If you start here, you'll be all right. If you start here, you're in for a messy ride. Start here with your understanding of how you are made in the image of God, and you are special and precious in His sight. How God gives us a responsibility and a job to do. That's really important. You have a vocation. God is calling you to care and take responsibility for each other, for this planet, and how we make mistakes. And so this is chapter 3 of Genesis. Adam and Eve, they eat the apple, and that story. And from it, we understand how sin is addictive, how sin just gets in, and it is really difficult to shift. But also in the missing the mark bit, in throwing the balls into the bucket, there's also this view of sin where what I need to do is to keep working at it. That'll do for this session, but in the next session, we're going to look at the story of Jesus.